But when it comes to Teslas, and many of us have been trying out this full self-driving beta, and with the recent release of 10.69.1, and we're seeing huge improvements on that, it's getting to be quite exciting. And we're now starting to think that Robotaxi is just around the corner. So today we have Florian Minderop. He's the CEO of a company called MisterGreen. It's based in Europe. But Florian saw this future happening and made a bet towards it many, many years ago. He's met Elon. He's been at the Fremont factory. He's been at all the factories. And he started this amazing company in 2007, but actually really switched and made a whole bet into Tesla in 2013. Today, they are one of the largest leasing companies in the world, all Teslas. They currently have 3,700 Teslas, and but they have a goal of 15,000 autonomous driving Robofleet by 2025. Very, very exciting. So thank you so much. Welcome, Florian. Appreciate you joining me today.
Well, sorry, I always call you Tesla Herbert, but your name officially Herbert, of course. Thank you very much for having me and for the great introduction.
Well, thank you so much, Florian. You're the one calling in from Europe, so thank you. Let's get brighter. I'm really excited to learn more. So, first question for you, Florian, is what made you get so excited about Tesla way back in 2013? Tell me about how you met Elon, and just what went to your mind and probably your heart as well, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's good to give a little history about our company and how we started, and maybe a history about myself as well.
Yes.
I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, which is an oil company or oil state. And I lived there for 10 years. And I lived there because my dad was an entrepreneur in Venezuela, and he actually earned his living supplying the oil industry. So I always loved the oil industry. I loved the smell of oil. And, and I actually worked for an oil company somewhere in my 30s. And I worked for a bank. And then I started to understand that the whole world is all one big geopolitical game with all the negative forces with it. And so I wanted to do something, but I didn't have any idea. So I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. I wanted to do something to save the world. So I started with a company renting out scooters, electric scooters. And I found a co-founder, a good friend of mine, Mark Schreurs. He was actually on the same page, and we just started in 2008 with our company, and we call our company MisterGreen. At that moment, we thought we're going to green the world, and we are two guys, so it's very easy, Mr. Green. And well, we were before the troops because there wasn't any electric car yet. There weren't any infrastructure yet, and there were only electric scooters from Taiwan. So the first thing we did was going to the municipality and saying, look what's happening in the world. Look at what's happening in the United States and in London. Municipalities are putting out infrastructure for people to start buying an electric car, to make them VIPs. So we started building infrastructure, and we started to learn more about what's the business case of electric vehicles. And then we got to see the film Who Killed the Electric Car?
Right.
Number one, and then Who Killed the Electric Car? Number two. And in number two, Elon Musk was starring. He was one of the key figures there, explaining his business model against the business model of General Motors. So we were very excited about that. And then we saw the film of Al Gore, The Inconvenient Truth. And that made us think, really, we really do have a big problem. And we have an existential crisis. We have rising oil prices, global warming, etc. And we thought, let's do something about it. Pretty naive, maybe, as two guys on the street, but just let's start and let's see what will happen. So we started importing electric cars, and we then started to see that the business case for electric cars actually pretty good. That there weren't any cost for gasoline, but also very low maintenance cost, and also that the battery would eventually be have a longer lifetime than the car itself. So we started thinking of residual values for batteries, and then we started on setting up our own leasing company. And the first cars we had were Nissan Leafs in 2011.
Wow.
And but the problem with Nissan Leaf was it only had 100-kilometer range, and we didn't have fast chargers yet, so it was pretty difficult to sell them. And we only had this very green kind of people who are actually willing to make that sacrifice. So we started to follow Tesla, and finally Tesla came to the Netherlands in 2013, and we were one of the first companies ordering 100 Teslas.
Wow.
In 2013. So that was a big bet for us because we didn't have the finance yet, but we were very convinced about Tesla and about the Model S by then. So that's how we started, and that's how we came into contact with the company Tesla. And eventually we also met Elon himself, because he was traveling the world and he was explaining his vision. So he was actually joined by GB Strobo as well. Mm-hmm. And we actually met him in person as well. So, and he came to the Netherlands, I think 3 or 4 times. And I think the 4th time he opened the factory in Tilburg, which is in the south of the Netherlands. Mm-hmm. And we were asked by the Dutch Tesla girls and guys to have a chat with Elon. And we were able to ask a question to him as well. So we were pondering, are we going to ask him a question or are we going to do something funny? So we thought, why don't we make a bet with him?
I love it.
Instead of asking a question. So we said, let's make a bet. And if we're going to make our target and we're going to sell 250 cars, Teslas, we're going to bring our whole team of 8 people by then to the United States, and we're going to visit the Fremont factory, and we're going to travel to the Nevada factory. Yeah. But we need a car. Actually, we need 2 cars to go from Fremont to Nevada. So if we make our targets, we want you to give us your Model S. And if we don't make it, we will clean your logo on the Tilburg factory. Okay. So he said, okay, let's do it. Let's make that bet. So 1 year later, we actually made our target. We went to the Fremont factory and we got this car. And of course, nobody knew about the bet and nobody knew about the Model S. But eventually, we got a Model S because we said we're from MisterGreen and we are from the Netherlands, and we came here because we made our target. And they were very agile, and they said, "Okay, here's your Model S. Let's get."
Okay, I want to hear more about this. I want to hear more about the story, Florian, but I got to pause because you are a legend. This is a story that more people need to hear about. Number one, you were already very passionate about the environment. 2008, you started a company. At that time, who's crazy enough to do this? Elon was, and you. You started doing it with scooters. That makes sense. There was really no cars, and then you made that bet to buy that 250 Teslas in 2013. That's huge because I started investing in Tesla in 2013, and I know at that point they were still questionable as a car company. Who knows if they're going to go down? It was very crazy to even consider that they would succeed. But you had determination. So I just huge kudos to you. I did not know this story. People need to hear this. I really want you guys to succeed and that you're mission driven first. So, okay, this is very exciting. I can't believe you made that bet with Elon. He loves it. And then he lost that bet because you ended up selling 250 Teslas. Like you did in a lease model already. Is that what happened?
Yeah, so this was around, I think, so we started with buying 100 Teslas in 2013. So I think it was somewhere in 2014 or 2015 that we actually made this bet. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then how would the bet was you would lease these cars to people. You would basically act as their So
Yeah. So
yeah.
maybe I should explain how our business model works.
Yeah.
We are a leasing company, which means that we are renting out our cars, but not for the short term, but for long term. And it's a full operational lease, which means that we actually, it's kind of a subscription for cars, and we do everything which is around the car. So we buy the cars, we finance the cars, we service the cars, we make sure the cars are insured. And if you need roadside assistance, we also help you with that. We help you with setting up a charging station. We help you get, if there are problems around Tesla service, we can help you get service faster. And we can be like a middleman between the communication between Tesla and the consumer.
Okay.
So that's in short our model.
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand it. So are you saying that the people who subscribe to your subscription model, do they end up owning the car at all, or it's just really a rental?
No.
Okay. And so why do people want to do this? Why don't they just decide to buy it? Why don't they just decide to get money to loan it or lease the car?
Well, I always give the same example. Why do people buy or rent a home? And it's the same idea.
I see.
If you buy it, you have all the hassle of having your own asset. And because we have a lot of those assets, we are able to have a team servicing all those issues you have when owning a car. So it's actually quite a hassle to own a car.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to have a subscription on a car. And I think the whole trend is actually going more into lease/rent/ subscription, and not only for your car, but for all kind of assets that you have in your home or on work.
Yeah, I fully believe that Tesla's cars will be a subscription model itself, and you've been doing this since 2012, and you've been learning and all the little ins and outs of how that takes. So let's go back. I didn't want to interrupt your story because so you met Elon, you made the bet. Tell me about your visit to Fremont and the other factory you went to.
Yeah, it was amazing. We went to the Fremont factory. We had a tour there, so we were able to show our whole team what Tesla is all about. And yeah, that's amazing to see people sitting next to the supply chain, working on their desktops or their laptops, and actually changing stuff while the cars are actually being assembled. So we could show them that Tesla is not pure a car company, but it's much more a software company. Also in building their factory. And we also learned there was like a secret division where the batteries were made, so that we weren't allowed to go there, but they told about it. And they told about the history of the Roadster. And well, it was just a fun drive and a fun way to learn Tesla more. And of course, we went to San Francisco and saw all the Teslas driving around. And then we went to Nevada to visit the Nevada factory. But there wasn't anybody there yet, so we were for a closed fence. We drank a beer and we went back to I believe Lake Tahoe or something, and we had a lot of fun, a lot of adventure.
Yeah.
And the year after, we actually went to the opening of the Nevada factory, which was amazing to see as well how big the factory was. So that was the second factory we visited.
Yeah. What was the thinking of Elon when he heard about you guys? Obviously, he should be very excited and very supportive, but what did he say about you? And did he think that this kind of model is something that he would support? And what did he do? How does Tesla work with you guys?
Well, we don't have very much contact with Elon, but we have a lot of contact with the Dutch department and they have a direct contact with Elon. So I think a lot of things that we come up with will eventually come on the desk of Elon. I have no idea, but well, we have made that one bet with them. We have discussed some things there, and but we always have a colleague here. He's on sales, and he always says it's incredible. But every time that we think of something, Tesla's actually doing that.
Exactly.
So he always thinks that we are ahead of Tesla, but
Yeah.
I'm always watching everything which is happening in the Tesla community and looking a lot at YouTube channels and thinking about new ideas, etc. So it's like we're working a lot together. So and we obviously are very inspired by the way Tesla works. So and we're just a little speedboat around that big ship of Tesla. and hoping that we are able to bring their mission into the world, because it's the same mission that we have. So
yeah,
we're just, and I've talked about it as well. I think that we are also, I think Tesla wants entrepreneurs like we are, and they still look for those kind of entrepreneurs who are actually going to use their technology and their platforms to earn some money as well, and also make their mission feasible. So
yeah.
I hope we are an inspiration for those entrepreneurs in residence at this moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the last interview that he did with Tesla owner Silicon Valley, he was asked by Ryan Levinson, who I did an interview with recently as well. He owns 11 Teslas. He was talking about a Robofleet management. And Elon said, well, we're not working on the software right now because they're too busy with the factory deployment. But he did envision in the future there's going to be these shepherds, right? These fleet managers that's going to take care of the cars. Basically, what you've been doing for 10 years, this is going to be the norm for basically all cars in the future that eventually are robotaxi. They'll need people like you, massive businesses like you, to manage the fleets. And you're going to be the one for Europe and maybe the US as well. Maybe you'll have an outpost here.
Oh, definitely. We're already thinking of how are we able to come to the US, and are we able to do a kind of franchise or a white label or whatever.
Remember me, okay?
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a massive business. Okay, walk me through again. You talked about your purpose. It sounded like this is something you've been very passionate about since, again, so early, 2008. And then how did you, so this company was formed 2000, and then 2013, you decided to go all in Tesla. For what reasons? Because the car is just sexier, it is better batteries. What were the major thinking and decision why you decided to go all in Tesla?
Yeah, well, first of all, because of the sexiness. At that moment, there weren't any electric vehicles who were any remotely as competitive as the ICE vehicles. But the Model S was really competitive in that segment of the market, and because of the supercharger network already installed, it was not that big of a negative component that you're not able to have this huge range. So at that time the range was about 350 kilometers or something, or 400. So if you wanted to make a trip to the mountains, which is about 1,000 kilometers away from the Netherlands, it would take you about 2 to 3 hours more. So, but one, sexiness, and two, the infrastructure is one of the reasons that we started working with Tesla. But I think the most important thing is that Tesla is mission driven. And we experience from ourselves that what kind of power there is unleashed when you're mission driven. And you can like win every battle there is, because you are doing something which is bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
It's not only about you, it's about society, it's about getting the world better. So it's sometimes it's also, it feels like you have the world on your shoulders, so you don't have to. It can be a pretty heavy load, and there are a lot of critics saying, "Well, I don't believe in it," and is an electric vehicle actually more green than a combustion engine? And there's a lot of FUD going around, and we have to battle the FUD every time. But that's actually something that I like to do.
Yeah.
I like to talk about people about and giving people hope. That's actually our business model. It's giving hope that there is a solution, and there is a solution to our problems. And actually, the solution is even better. It's and that's one of the things that we learned from Tesla as well. Is that they're not only sexy, they have a better infrastructure, but also the business case is better. It's cheaper on a kilometer basis. So and it's more fun to drive. It's more relaxing, and it's safer. It's a more safer car. So those are the reasons that we choose for Tesla, and we are just there to show the world that what Tesla is all about, and it's getting more and more complex every day to show what Tesla is actually doing and what they're up to. So the one of the first things that we did was we just made a lot of road trips. So we went to the North Cape, and we traveled for 4,000 kilometers with two cars in 2013, I believe, or 14. And we showed the Netherlands and all the people around us that it was capable of driving 4,000 kilometers into the snow without any problem. But we were very lucky because we decided to do that. And 2 months earlier, the last superchargers were placed in Norway. So we were very lucky.
Yeah, actually, you're very lucky. I think it's meant to be, because it just turns out that, you know, Netherlands and Finland and Norway and those areas happen to be the areas where Tesla decided to really have a focus and area presence in, right? So worked out for you guys. Yeah,
it was, and not only. I think we are one of the EV founders in the Netherlands, together with a lot of other companies, and we were all based in like Amsterdam. So we were like the Silicon Valley of electric vehicles of Europe.
Yeah.
So that made us like the head capital of EV, even more than Norway. So that helped us a lot with setting up infrastructure and setting up all the software around the infrastructure. So that was part of the chicken and egg solution at that moment. So the infrastructure was in place, and that was that was the reason that big companies like Tesla came to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And actually, the headquarters of Europe is based in Amsterdam. So our office is based next to Tesla. So
they're perfect. Yeah,
it's perfect. We talk a lot with them.
You're probably one of the major reasons why, and I can't remember which country it is, but 70% Teslas. Is it Finland or something like that, or Norway? Norway.
What do you mean by 70%?
I understand that of 70% of all EVs sold there is Teslas. Is that right, or is it that all new car sales? 70% of all new car sales.
I don't know which country that is, but it definitely was 70% in 2014 and 2015.
No, not that now. But okay, maybe I'm getting my facts wrong. But okay, so tell me the story of how you moved from 2014 to now. So you focused 100% of Tesla. You really started to help educate folks about it and help build the infrastructure required for it. So what's that journey like from 2014 to 2022? You know, we know Tesla's journey, right? They went through hell. They went through manufacturing hell. They had lots of ups and downs of things that they progressed, but also things were slow. And it's only now that things are starting to skyrocket now that they've got things done. What about your own business? What happened for you from that period of time?
Yeah, well, there was also a lot of FUD around Tesla and a lot of FUD around electric vehicles. So we were like kind of missionaries explaining that it's better, and that a lot of stuff which appeared in the mass media were wrong and dead wrong. So that was one of our things we had to do. And two, we just had to manage to become a business. So we had to scale our team, and we had to get our financing ready, etc. And one of the most important things that we did was actually getting a residual value for Tesla. So we actually went to energy companies. We said, if you want to buy a battery in a few years down the road, what kind of price would you pay per kilowatt hour for a used battery? So they gave us a price. That price surprised us. And we could use that letter of intent to go to our financiers and say, this is the residual value an energy company is giving to our battery. Yeah. And the battery at that time was like 30% of the value of a car. So we had a kind of a high residual value already set in place. So that gave us momentum to finance the cars. And we were very lucky that ABN AMRO, one of our banks, national banks here, was believing in us and was believing in our team, and they actually financed us. Yeah. So that was our we call it the financing hell. It was not production hell, but financing hell.
Yeah.
But we also made a bet, because we said we first going to sell the contracts, and when we sell the contracts, then we're going to try to finance the contracts.
Right.
But it was always that due to fiscal reasons, that the cars were like sold somewhere in November, beginning of December, and they were actually delivered at the end of December. So we had a very small time frame to really get those financed. And we were very lucky and very happy that those people really believed in us, and they actually gave us the finance. So
Yeah.
that was our bottleneck, and still is.
Okay. Okay. So tell me about your business today. How many Teslas do you have on lease? What is your business model? How are you making money? And what are the things you do to manage it? Yeah.
So where do I start? I think the first thing I want to explain is that I just explained that we are just buying Teslas, and that we are renting them out. In a normal leasing company, the leasing company wants to get rid of the cars. But we said we don't want to get rid of the cars. We're going to keep them, because we think that the value of the car is going to be bigger than everybody thinks in the market. So we're going to keep the cars, and we're actually going to release them again for a second term. And we are actually doing that a lot at this moment, and people are very eager to lease those, because the cars from 2013 are still very good.
Yeah.
And they're still very modern, and they still use the same supercharging network, which is perfect, and it's actually increasing. And the software is updating, so the cars are actually getting better every year. And we have them in the books for a lower price, so we are able to actually give them a low leasing price. So that's the first two things that we're doing.
What do you think? What's happening with the battery degradation for the cars that are really old, 2013, 15?
They're still very good. We have cars in our fleet where we have driven more than 500,000 kilometers, and they're still okay. So I think the degradation is for those batteries are around 90, 88, 87%.
Wow.
So they're still good. They're still good. And of course, sometimes we have one out of 500, 1 out of 1,000 cars there. The battery dies, but then we have a solution with Tesla, and at this moment there are even other players able to swap the battery. So there's some new business models around that as well.
Okay.
So that's the installed base that we are creating, and the second thing that we're doing right now is. Because we believe so much in not only 100% electric cars, we are a 100% Tesla company. But not only because they make electric cars, but we think Tesla are not cars; they are actually robots, and they will become robots, and they will be awake when the software updates. And so we have like a sleeping Robofleet, and it will awake somewhere this century. And if they are awake, they suddenly are self-driving autonomous cars.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to explain to people right now is that it's not only about going electric, but also having the opportunity to buy the FSD. And they don't have to buy it. So what we actually are offering them is a subscription on FSD. And we started with that somewhere in 2019, and people were very skeptic, and we were also very skeptic. We said it's expensive, the functionality is not very good, and it still isn't really good. It's still we call it FSD Alpha version. It's the beta minus kind of version.
Yeah.
But we're seeing what the incremental steps Tesla is making, and making FSD beta better. So we are very anxious to bring FSD beta to the Netherlands, and we're waiting for that. But we're already offering them a subscription, and we started with offering FSD beta or FSD alpha at €0, and making people get acquainted with learning how to drive with an AI system.
Well,
So
so to be clear though, right, the FSD beta is not in Europe right now. So I think you're referring to autopilot on the highways, or
no, Autopilot is also free here.
correct?
They have like an FSD package, which you can buy for 7,000 euros, which is a lot less than $12,000. But the functionality is squeezed. So one reason is regulatory reasons, but the second reason is that we don't have FSD beta yet.
Yes.
So we have the old FSD version. So it's not the enhanced autopilot, but it's the FSD package which you guys in US had like 1 year ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I want to jump into, we can go ahead and jump into FSD and this whole bet that you're making. I just love it, but I can't get off the fact that, the cars that you're buying, that you're now leasing and renting to other people on a subscription basis, but they could possibly last forever. A lot longer life cycle than we normally expect the car to exist. And here you've got 2013 cars still on the fleet and still managing and renting it out. And the ones you're buying now, they could probably last 10, 20 plus years probably. And then as the features get added, right? It's one of the few cars where it just keeps getting better and better over months as the software updates. Plus, the appreciation of FSD as that gets better. But I'm struck by having a business that is very expensive because these cars are $50,000, $70,000 US dollars. But at the same time, it really doesn't cost you a lot of money because if you decide to sell these cars, you'd still make, right? The depreciation is not as much as you'd expect it to be, correct?
Yeah, we always had that insight or that vision that the residual value should be bigger than the residual value of an ICE car.
Yeah.
So I think a normal ICE car depreciates about 50% a year. And we already said, well, we believe it's going to be better than 50%. So it's going to be around 10%.
Yeah.
But our financier said, well, we don't believe that. We think it's going to be about 20% instead of 15%. So the normal dynamics of an electric vehicle already are better than an ICE vehicle. So there's less maintenance, there's less gasoline. So the residual value of a car is higher. So that's reason number one. But reason number two is that we are in a very strange kind of market dynamics where the demand is far bigger than the supply of cars. So if demand is bigger than supply, the residual value will also get a kicker and go higher. And the third thing that we believe in is that due to FSD, the car will get better. Yeah. And due to software updates already, but due to FSD, the car will get better and better. And because it gets better, the price of FSD is also going to get higher. So we think the residual value at this moment, with the current functionalities, the residual value is still low. But if the software gets better, the residual value will increase as well. So that's the bet that we're making. And the fourth item of our bet that we're making is that if the software is ready, you are able to put your car into a fleet and actually make the car make money for you. What Elon explained on AI Day number 1, or what was it?
AI Day 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's something that we believe in, and we are actually making a business model around. So we are trying to help our customers to think like this as well, and make them learn that FSD is actually better than a human driver already, and it's not better than 100% self-driving right now, but it's getting better. Yeah. And it just takes time. But I'm already convinced that if you give somebody FSD and you take it away a year later, that people will scream, no, give it back to me. I will pay you 20, 30 euros. No worries, I will have it. So it's kind of a latent. How do you call it in English? It's people don't see it yet, and they don't feel it yet. But if they have experienced it, they will change their mind. They don't want to get rid of it anymore.
Of your fleet that you have currently today that you own, all the Teslas, what percentage of it is you've got FSD package in it? Did I hear? Did you read somewhere 15%?
We have FSD package. Sorry, yeah. What's your question?
Of the fleet that you own, what percentage of that fleet has FSD in it, or you bought the FSD?
Yeah, so we have around 4,000 cars, and we have around 1,500 Tesla FSD packages.
Perfect.
So about 35% of our fleet consists of FSD.
So I can see it's already rising very fast. Are you selling some of your fleets when they get, are you selling them and then buying new Teslas always and replacing it? Or are you just trying to hold on to everything you have and keep buying as much as you can now?
Yeah, our strategy is buy and hold.
I love it.
Yep.
Oh, God. And so your goal was 15,000 auto robotaxis by 2025. Do you think that's still on track, or is it all based on, the progress of Teslas? And they haven't even released FSD beta in Europe yet. And, but yeah, is that your financing situation, or? Yeah.
So our strategy is it's twofold. One is we want to get as many cars as possible, and the second is we want to get as many FSD packages as possible.
Yeah.
So the first one, with the opening of Giga Berlin, is going to be actually pretty easy, because we started in Berlin as well a year ago, and I mean we're already selling 100 cars a month in Germany alone. So I think with the run rate of 5,000 production Teslas at Giga Berlin end of December, and speeding up to a 10,000 cars a week production rate somewhere in July 2023, I think we will be on a 500,000 car production rate somewhere end of 23, beginning 24.
Right.
So we always had this ratio. I know you're the milestone guy, so that's why I wanted to share it with you as well.
Yeah.
We always had a ratio of every car which is produced at Tesla, every 400 cars, we buy one of them.
Okay. Wow.
So every 400 car produced, one is bought by MisterGreen. At this moment, we are at one at 1,000. So we're actually lagging our key performance indicator.
Yeah.
But in FSD, we are already on one at 400 still going. So I think worldwide there are 500,000 FSD contracts sold at this moment.
Yes.
And we have about 1,250, 1,500. So we are still one on 400 on that part, on the second part, on the FSD part. So I think 15,000 is cars in 2025 is reasonable for us. Yeah. And I hope that in 2025 that our take rate of FSD is going to be 100%. So our fleet will consist of about 100% FSD as well.
Okay, well, Florian, I just love you so much, man, because you have guts. You have guts, and you have put your business focus on this. You have vision. I think you're going to be very rich. I'm very supportive. I want you to succeed, and I think you're going to succeed. But it just takes guts, because obviously there's all these other side of the fence here. People are saying that FSD is never going to happen in their lifetime. It's going to take forever. But on the other side, what you just said is probably very true, that it's this thing where when it improves, like we saw potential, it was a major leap with 10.69.1. And if you have knowledge that FSD is a neural net that's learning, as you kind of indicated earlier, it's going to come alive at some point because it's exponential curve. But when that happens, at a certain moment, and it can happen quicker than we realize, then it'll become 100% take rate, like you just said. So it might be slow. You need to survive. And the beauty of your business is that you've got a business model that succeeds and already successful, regardless of when FSD comes. But when it does, you guys are well set with thousands and thousands of Robofleets. You're going to probably take over Europe. Oh my! It's like, yeah.
That's the thing. I think that Tesla is like underselling FSD at this moment.
Okay, explain that. Explain that. What do you mean by underselling FSD?
I think they don't want everybody to have FSD at this moment.
Okay,
I think
why?
they're focusing on making the product good and very good, and then they're going to sell the FSD. And
gotcha.
We are actually trying to sell as many FSD as possible, and even with very low effort, we are already on a take rate of 35%.
Yeah.
So if we are already able to sell 35%, can you imagine what Tesla can do if they really want?
Yeah.
So, I think at the take rate they have right now of 10%, 15%, that's just because FSD beta is not out yet in the whole world. It's just because there are just 100,000 FSD beta users at this moment. But if FSD beta wide release is actually coming this year, or maybe beginning of next year, we will see a significant rollout and a huge uptake and an uptake ratio. That's something I'm convinced about. And I'm driving FSD a year in the Netherlands already, and I don't want to get I don't want somebody getting my FSD away from me. I'm already hooked, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
We're actually making a commercial around that. That somebody is driving, and he's sitting at the signs of the street. What's it called again? The stop signs.
Yeah.
And he's actually getting his phone to use his phone, and he only has to tap to get through the green light. So that's just 1 minute of time, but that's the 1 minute of time you can use your TikTok, and you don't want that 1 minute of TikTok time get away from you. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's a silly example, but you can make a lot of examples about what is time actually valued. And I think ARK Invest made it a very, very nice business case around it. It's actually valued around 5 to 6 euros or dollars an hour, and even more. So FSD at this moment, it only costs you 5 euros a day. And in our case, where our subscription is 30 euros a month, so it only costs you 30 divided by 30, only €1 a day. So that moment that you can use your TikTok, it only costs you €1. So it's already a no-brainer.
Yeah, if you buy FSD, what is it, 8,000 euros? You said, and then you're making a bet of how long the car will last and how long before FSD is somehow valuable, really valuable to users. But you've bought it. MisterGreen has owned the car, and MisterGreen owns the FSD. Then you can charge a subscription model to it, right? And then for people who use your car in the future, it's part of the package, but they'll pay you a subscription. So you'll potentially make way more than the 8,000 euros for the cost of that. And that's just the basic model, because once it becomes Robotaxi, then that's just the economics of that changes, right? I want to get into that too. But did I explain things properly? That's what you're doing, is you're trying to pay for it as much, because the idea that you said earlier with it, Elon's trying not to sell FSD. I agree with you. The amount of when he says I'm going to charge you 8,000 euros or 12,000 US dollars, and he's just trying to set a kind of a number to it. He doesn't really need that as revenue, I don't think. He's going to make it 20,000 soon by the end of this year, US dollars. And then he's going to keep raising it, because he doesn't intend people to actually pay for that anymore. But he wants to drive people to the subscription model. But he wants to put the true value of what this really is, a real value. So for you to try to lock down that price as early as possible, that's all going to be huge bottom line numbers for you in the future, I think.
Yeah, I think, some of the revenue of Tesla is also leasing. So they know the leasing business model. So they also know the residual value of a car, and they also know the residual value of an FSD package. So they also see that the residual value of an FSD package is actually increasing.
Mm-hmm.
So and they also know if I increase the value of the purchase value of FSD, then the residual value will also increase.
Mm-hmm.
So for us at this moment, we're buying FSD at discount.
Yes.
And a big discount.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, we want FSD to come to the Netherlands as soon as possible. But for our business model, it's actually we rather buy it for 7,000 than for 15,000. You understand what I mean?
I do. I've been telling people this. Okay, so my brother asked me, should I buy FSD? So I have two brothers, and all three of us have Teslas. I'm the only one that bought FSD, but now they're asking me, should they buy it? And what I'm telling people is that let's assume that Robotaxi is not available, regulatory or otherwise, for another 8 years from now. 10 years from now. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, because you're telling me that you're being conservative. You don't think it'll ever happen. Too many edge cases to fix before. Okay, let's assume it's 8 years from now. I'll give you that. But I think in 4 years, by that point, it would have gotten good enough that people buying your car will realize that the value of that is a lot higher than it is today, because they can see within 4 years it's going to happen. So you don't have to wait 8 years. You just need to wait 3 or 4 years before all of a sudden the residual value of your FSD that you've bought in your car. And then, of course, they're going to keep raising the price of it. And so if you wanted to buy a new car with FSD, it'd probably be 30,000, 40,000 at that point. So then you can do the subscription model. But then your car that you bought today at 12,000 or 15,000, you know what I mean? It's just... that's what I think is happening as well.
Yeah, so it's all based on the assumption that the price of FSD will increase in the future.
Yeah,
and that's something we had difficulty with also internally. That we said, yeah, at this moment FSD is only 3,000 euros, but it will increase in value in the coming 2 to 3 years. And everybody will say, well, we will have to see that. Elon says it, but we have to see that. But now 2 years later, it happened already.
Yeah,
and we're actually seeing it every 6 months. The price is increasing. So I think it's a given fact right now. It's not a vision anymore. And it's also, if you look at the business dynamics, it's also very plausible, and it actually is right. I think that the software will eventually be of more value than the hardware.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's why your business model makes so much sense, because it's basically the subscription to the it's not the car that you want to buy anymore. It's going to be the service of, you call yourself a mobility company, and I don't really understand what a mobility company means, but basically it's basically hiring out the ability to have a car to drive you wherever you need to drive. I don't need to own it anymore. So Uber kind of like started doing that, but the Uber is very expensive nowadays because the cost of the gas and the cost of people. If you take away those two out, which is, then you become the next version of Uber.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been dreaming and getting inspired by all kinds of people, but eventually, at this moment, you need mobility to get somewhere.
Yeah.
To get to the pub or to get to your office, to whatever. But maybe you can envision that the car is actually your pub, or is your office, or your room, or whatever. So you don't even need to do the mobility anymore. You are the office. So you don't pay for mobility, but you pay for being in the office. So there's going to be totally different value proposition and price. So you don't even look at the cost, but you only look at the value which is proposed to you.
You're brilliant. You can become the aftermarket, like you would take a Tesla and then you would put all things in it. Do you want this to be a party room for a 13-year-old birthday party? Or do you want this to be a conference room for an executive meeting? And then you would put all the proper aftermarket additions to it to configure it to whatever you need.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, that's also adding value to society as well. Yeah. I mean, that's gonna change a lot of business models.
I actually, I don't laugh at this idea because I'm actually doing it now. Like I find myself, like when I'm waiting because I go to some office and I have to wait in the lobby. Instead of waiting in the lobby, I go back to my car and I wait in the car, which is weird because I prefer to be in my car because I've got the proper temperature. Then I've got the games. I play all Sudoku. I play all these games and I just relax. I'm listening to my music. Why would I want to sit in a lobby? And so I just say, I'm going to go back in my car. Okay. Just call me when I'm ready.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Yeah.
Tell me about the Robotaxi business model. This is very, very exciting. And I know that. So the argument that I've been having with a bunch of folks is that I believe that Tesla will stop selling cars to consumers. And it may not be 100%. It probably be like, instead of right now, they're selling 100% of their cars to consumers. It'll probably be end up 15% they'll sell to consumers. 85% they'll keep themselves. But they will need fleet managers and they'll sell it to fleet managers like you. And they'll need fleet managers to do all of the things to help make sure that business works. So that's tell me what you think what your role is and what your business model and how the economics work.
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot of models actually going to converge or going to happen, or things that we haven't thought about yet. But for us, it's going to be at this moment we can become either an operator that you referred to in the beginning, or we can become the Robotaxi as a service company. So we actually do everything we do for our clients right now, but then our clients are not just people, one person in one car, but our clients are the operators. So they operate the taxi car, but they don't want all the hassle of buying, financing, etc. And that's something that we do. So we could stay in that business and just expand that and do it through franchise or white label or whatever. Or we could become an operator, or we could just sell our whole fleet and do something totally different.
Yeah.
And start a leasing company for Optimus, or I have no idea.
Oh my God.
And maybe we can do it all together. And we can start building Musk cities everywhere. So no, it's I think we're still on the very, very, very beginning of a lot of possibilities and a lot of chances. And I think I don't know who said it, but how big are the problem, how big are the opportunity? And I think the problem is very big. I mean, rising oil prices, global warming, energy scarcity. Those are the three biggest problems at this moment. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about. I mean, we're only talking about the car part at this moment. But what about all the energy part and the AI part and the Optimus part, which is actually in the future, which is pretty near, I believe. It's not very far away. It's somewhere this decade. So I hope that we are able to be fast enough, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, it's your vision. It's blowing my mind. Your vision is as big as Elon's and Tesla's, and you're not restricting yourself to just Robotaxi, which by itself is already a massive, massive goal. Can we just go back to that quickly? Do you have? Did you not? I see a slide where you actually had the economics of Robotaxi. Do you want to walk us through that, maybe?
Help me. Which slide was that?
It was one of the last slides in one of your decks. I thought I saw.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a slide from Tesla itself.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So it's about the potential of having a net present value of 30,000 euro per car. Is that what you're referring to?
It is.
It's actually it's talking about the cost of a car per mile is actually diminishing. It's actually getting near to 5 cents a mile. So at this moment, we lease a car for like a standard Model 3 for like €600 a month. So, and that's for 20,000 kilometers a year. So that's about 30 cents per kilometer. And we believe that through a robotaxi, that the price will actually go to, well, the price you're seeing right here. And this is a slide from the Tesla AI day, or which Elon showed very briefly. But this is also which opened our eyes, which awakened us to the opportunity which is actually coming. And the opportunity is huge because at this moment a car is only utilized about 5% of its lifetime. So you can increase the moments that you actually use the car, and it's not sitting still in the garage, actually depreciating. So and that's the golden nugget of mobility. If you're able to actually get more people drive less cars, that's the solution.
Yeah.
So also for the mission of getting more electric cars on the road and getting less gasoline cars on the road, you actually need a multiplier. And the multiplier is not in getting more electric cars on the road, but using the same car more often. So getting the utilization rate higher.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea of robotaxi. And the robotaxi is the only way to do it, because that's the only way to minimize the friction in the whole renting process. Because we rented our cars through the equivalent of Turo in the US, here in the Netherlands, and I earned like €3,000 a month on my Model S.
Wow.
Which is like 5 times more than the €600 I would earn if I just leased it. Yeah. But I had a lot of friction, and it took me a lot of time. So I had a second job of renting out my car, and it took me like 30 to 40 hours a month to actually rent a car. But if I can do it without friction, without consuming time of myself, it's a no-brainer, and it's very, very lucrative. So either the price is going down, or you're getting a lot of margin. That's the dynamic.
Yeah, and you're going to be that the service that's going to help people reduce that friction. You guys will take care of all that work. Yeah, I see the slide. It says 90,000 miles per year. That is amazing. That's almost like the life of a car in the first place. But then the vehicle longevity is 11 years. That's, it's crazy.
So this is a slide from Tesla itself, and they said somewhere down the road we're going to have a 1,000,000-mile battery.
Right.
So I think with the 4680 cells, we're going to see 1 million battery, 1,000,000-mile battery. So that's the lifetime of the battery. Yeah. And if you can swap the battery, then you can even go further. But let's suppose this is the assumption, and then you can make $30,000 profit of a robotaxi per car, which is
per year.
Per year, exactly. So what's going to be the value of the car? So it's not the hardware which is going to make the value. No, it's the software which is going to make the value. So I understand why Elon is saying if the software is ready, it will probably cost you around $100,000, because you're gonna have an earn back period of 3 years.
Yeah.
So, but this is of course only in the first years, I believe. But we will see what happens. We will see how fast the competition will be and how fast everybody else is going to do this. And yeah, this is in the most rosy scenario where everything is going to be right and the regulators are going to approve it, etc.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So regulatory approval for this in Europe specifically, not just Europe, I guess, everywhere. What's your thinking of how difficult that might be? Have you heard if anything is on the horizon? What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's definitely a hurdle, and it's something that is I think Tesla is working really hard on. and I think they need a lot of data to make the regulatory system look at it and give them the approval. But I think it's gonna at this moment we have the idea that regulatory approval is the thing that's going to slow everything, but maybe it's going to turn around. So maybe governments are going to say, hey, what if it's true and the data is actually saying that it's better and it's safer than humans? Then actually, if we don't do it right now and we don't give approval, we're going to be behind, and we're not going to be able to offer our society the benefits of a self-driving car. Mm-hmm. So I think there already are some states in the US thinking like this. Mm-hmm. And I also think China's thinking like this, and Singapore's thinking like this. And I really do believe that some municipalities are looking at this from this perspective, also in the Netherlands. And of course, the Netherlands is part of the EU, so the EU has to make a decision about it, and that's also a very bureaucratic kind of system. So we will have to see. We will have to see what happens. That's the only thing I can say about it. And, Elon has reiterated that he is saying it will be approved in the end of 2022. So he just said it last week as well in Norway. So he said it on the earnings call. He said it on the opening of the Berlin factory. He said it on the opening of the Texas factory. So I think he's
no, I think what he's saying, I think, is just FSD beta is going to be wide release, meaning that anybody who decides to buy FSD beta, they don't have to do a safety score. They can turn it on and they can do it. It's still human powered FSD beta, and no regulatory approval required. We do need to point out that, knock on wood, but currently NHTSA, TSA, which is the government agency regulating transportation in the U.S., they have not yet, knock on wood, put any restrictions on FSD beta. And with 200,000 beta users today, so you have to ask, well, it's likely because they're already seeing data to show that it's safer today than a human. If it was causing lots of accidents, they would have acted sooner. And then, so that's one, who knows if that's true or not, or whether it's a question about. But I think your point about China makes sense, because they are approving robotaxi, and there's cities in China that's already been approved to do, geofenced robotaxi, just like we have in Chandler or San Francisco. And so this notion that the cities the regulatory approval would actually be, a red tape that can never be hurdled, could be the opposite. It could be that, in fact, cities are vying to be the first to be able to offer this for all the huge benefits to society and their city themselves. They're all trying to reduce transportation and buses. I don't know if robotaxis, some people think that it's actually going to increase traffic, but if they can reduce the cost for people to travel, then that's something that they'd want to do, as long as it's proven to be safe. So it can go, who knows what's going to happen in regulatory approval. But FSD coming to Europe is coming, right? He in that one, I know that he has said, Elon has said it's coming soon.
That was what I was referring to. Sorry, I wasn't referring to robotaxi, but I was referring to the FSD wide release.
And that it'll be they've released it in Canada, right? So second country, and then the next one is Europe. Do you know which country they might go for? Or because I know that each country is very different, right? They can't just say it's going to work in Germany, it's going to work in Netherlands.
I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I hope the Netherlands. But
yes. No, well, it could be, right? Because that's where they are. Yeah. What's your? I mean, like, if you had no guess, but which road system is easier for the robotaxi to figure out, learn from? Which is more complicated?
I heard Elon say something about it, but I can't remember anymore. But it's not the road system which makes it more difficult. Mm. It's the way how the regulatory body is actually looking or having a standpoint about it. I think that's what Elon said as well. I think no, I can't remember, but it's not the roads. That's not the problem.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't think so. I think it's more the way they look at the problem.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So
yeah, we'll never know. Hopefully, it comes out to you at the Netherlands first. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter to you because you are in all those many countries in Europe right now. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter for us. That's what I said before. Our number one goal is getting as much cars as possible.
Yeah.
And we are very hopeful that Tesla is going to manage this, and this is actually going to work within a few years.
Yeah.
And maybe in a few months. We hope in a few months, but it doesn't matter if it takes 1 year more. Then maybe we're even more ready as MisterGreen.
Yeah.
So and I think for Tesla it also doesn't really matter that much, because they first want to get the product right. They want to get that Tesla to be the FSD to be really good, and that's the moment. That's the moment they will actually go wide. But and that's something that's intriguing me, because if they are thinking like that, why is Elon already saying that we are going to do a wide release? So he's probably already seeing that the product is really good.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing it in the first videos we saw last week from. So I don't know. Maybe we are on a cusp with something very fast happening, but we'll see. For us, it doesn't matter that much. And
common fallacy for people is they look back and go, well, he thought it was going to come in 2016, and he promised, parking lot to parking lot, cross nation, robotaxi travel from 2017. Then he keeps promising 2018 and 19, so they keep discounting it. But the reality is that the way what he's looking at is the rate of which the neural nets are learning. And each time he thought it was going to happen, there was always another rate limiting thing that came up, and then they had to resolve that. And so for him to say it's August, that he still thinks it's going to happen by December, that to me is an interesting comment. And then we did see a huge leap with 10.69.1. If it can solve complex left turns, I'm sure you've seen Chuck Cook's left turn.
Definitely.
A multi-lane highway, pretty well like a highway. It's going really fast. Lots of cars, left and right, three lanes each, median in the middle, and all sorts of variations of what can happen. If it can figure out how to do and creep properly, position themselves accurately, make sure that has visibility. If it can do that, right? Like it can then take that knowledge and apply it to every left turn or right turn anywhere. And we already saw that there's no issues with it recognizing stop signs, stop lights. So, you know what I mean? Like, what is the next thing that is an impossibility for this car to do, for it to be able to do? Obviously we're talking parking lots. It has to vastly improve reverse summon, those kind of things. And there's millions of edge cases that it needs to understand and learn. But the one that's coming out recent that I'm very excited about is automatic collision avoidance.
Yeah.
So Swamani Ashok, he did a video just a week ago, and he said that these cars are now going to be able to do automatic collision avoidance because it has the 8 cameras using vision only, be able to detect occupancy networks, they called it, which is basically which area of space is occupied, whether static or movement, because it knows if something's moving and where that will be occupied within seconds. Every 10 microseconds, it knows what's going around it. And so now they're saying that there's a feature coming out that will prevent your Tesla from ever hitting anything. It won't hit a basketball pole. If there's an accident coming, it can know how to do proper evasive maneuvers, and it's within microseconds we're talking here, and it'll know where to go because that is where it projects to be a safe area to move to. I've been saying that just that feature alone, forget Robotaxi, this does not need regulatory approval. Well, probably less. Well, it probably does not need regulatory approval, but just that feature alone is massive. I mean, if you're trying to lease a car to people, I would lease the car that's not going to get into an accident, or less likely to ever hit a person and kill somebody or whatever it is. So.
Oh, I'm so happy that you bring this up, because that's one of the reasons that we're actually also only doing Teslas, because it's going to be the safest car in the world.
Right.
And I think that's their second mission. Their first mission is to accelerate the electric transport, but the second mission is to actually diminish the accidents happening, and actually diminishing the number of people who are actually getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
So and even in our business model, we can say that we are a leasing company which has the most safest fleet on earth.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting for our clients. Not only because it's safe, and it's therefore it's not hitting people, and you don't have to spend your attention on driving anymore because you know it's safe, but also because at this moment we pay a hefty fee for insurance.
Yeah.
So about 15% of the whole leasing fee is about insurance. So I think the FSD package is all about insurance as well.
Yeah.
So the Tesla insurance product will merge into the FSD product. So for us as a leasing company, that's very exciting, because then we have an even better value proposition, because we don't have to pay that much insurance costs anymore. And actually, the highest rate of collisions is around parking. So I think about 80% of our damage occurs during parking, not on the highway or on normal streets or whatever. It's in those moments that you think, oh, I'm finally there, or I have to start. That's the moment that it happens, and where the most damage happens. So that's going to be an amazing feature, which indeed it doesn't need regulatory approval. So yeah, we're very excited about that one.
That's going to be huge. So I saw that you actually create software, an app. You have an app, correct?
Yeah.
And so this is the thing that I think, I know that I was talking to Ryan Levinson, and he has 11 Teslas that he rents out on Turo, very successful business, and he uses Turo. Yep. But he had said that Turo is not perfectly designed per se for fleet managers and just the various things that he needs as a fleet manager to manage. And you guys are doing this. You've got your app that you can not only, as I'm assuming it's consumer facing, but it's also something that you as a company is using to evaluate and tracking, monitoring your vehicles, correct?
Yep.
So
yep, go ahead.
Tell me more about that, because I think this is the secret sauce that Tesla may do it themselves in the future, but they may also just, company like you comes out with something like this, and then you can license this to franchises all around the world, basically, because this is the reason I bring it up is that you're one of, if not the only company that has 10 years of experience of leasing cars like this. And Ryan was saying that there's just so many little tiny things that you wouldn't have thought of unless you've had the experience of renting cars out to people already. So tell me about what your app does and your thoughts on this. Yeah.
Well, we started thinking of, okay, what is the whole customer journey about? And we just looked at the customer journey, and we said, oh, there's a lot of paperwork involved.
Yeah.
So we managed to get our contract from like 40 pages to like 1 page. So make it very, very simple. And then we said, we want to give people the opportunity to order their car and lease the car or rent their car from their mobile phone.
Yeah.
Within 1 minute, without all the paperwork. And that's what we started doing. So that's the first step that we accomplish right now, and that's why we're very eager to really expand that product, because we already made it. So the second thing we wanted to do is how are we able to, during the rental period, going to manage all the questions which are coming into our company and all the nitty little details which involved and which happened. So we thought, let's make that digital as well, and that's still something that we're working on. And of course, that's going to be a very interesting feature and that's why we think also that there's an opportunity to be like a robotaxi as a service company, because this is the background of this is the not sexy part. You don't want to get involved in this nitty gritty, and it doesn't work with, well, maybe for Ryan it works with 10 cars, but it's actually much easier if you have 1,000 cars or 10,000 or 100,000. It's much easier to do that because then all the processes are digitized. And you can extrapolate that to a lot of different clients for a very small amount of fee. So that's our strategy at this moment. And the third thing is, if you have all these things in place, then you can also eventually share the car. So, but I do think that Tesla's going to make an app where they're going to share the car. So that's not something. So I don't know where we're going to meet, but maybe that's going to be two different apps. But we'll see.
I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to create a car sharing app, but you heard him already say that he does see a role for what he calls shepherds, shepherding the sheep that's out there. And that's what you're doing, fleet management. I think they're going to partner with large fleet managers like you. I think this app that you're talking about is the secret sauce. It's a thing that you can resell, you can own yourself, and whether people buy the car themselves or you own the car or car sharing, whatever model it is.
Well, we want to empower people to start their own renting company.
There you go.
So, and we want to empower people to earn money on this appreciating asset. So I think robotaxis will eventually be financed or owned by the people. So the people are going to earn money with that, and not the and also Tesla, of course. But there's a lot of places in the world where people can just make a business out of this.
Oh, Florian, I'm excited for you, man. I'd love to be in your product management team because I'll be thinking, okay, so I'm managing a fleet of cars, but very soon I'm going to have to manage a fleet of bots. So what features do I need to have in my app to, to manage a bot?
Yeah, that's so exciting. I can't wait for AI Day 2 to learn more about that, because I think that's going to be huge. It's so exciting to think about that future.
I think it's going to be big. I'm very, very excited about AI Day 2, which is 30 days from now. Yeah, and
I always tell to people, we're not in a car business. We are in the robot business, and our robot has 4 wheels. That's the only difference. And there will be a time that the robot will be on 2 legs, but that's the only difference. So it's the same animal, and but it has the same brain, and it's all about the brain. It's all about the software, the neural nets. That's where the value is. Oh
my God! And like you were saying earlier, that you're even thinking bigger than just robotaxi. It could be like it knows you so well because it's a brain and has seen you and talked to you forever, or whatever you've used in the car. Then it'll know, right? If you're headed to a birthday party, or if you're headed to work, or you're going to church, or whatever it is, and then it will just preset everything. It'll know where to take you, or it will take you to wherever it thinks it needs to go. Oh my God. So Florian, tell me about how you're funding all this, and is there a robo investment fund? Is there ways that people like me and other investors be able to contribute and join you? You've convinced me that you've got an amazing, purpose-driven, mission-driven company. You've been doing this since 2008. Went all in on Tesla 2013. You've been leasing cars for 10 years. You've now been accumulating robo-taxis. You've got the vision. Your vision is way beyond just you're like an Elon light. Okay, you're not going to be Elon, but You're hanging out to his coattail closer there than I am. So
I'm just infected by him. I'm just picking his ideas.
you repeat his words is what you
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But tell us, how do we help you? How do we get part of this? If anything, be part of the franchise, or how does this work? Yeah.
Yeah. So you can always contact us through our website. It's MisterGreen.eu.
Okay.
And within that website, you can either go to the investor relations page, or you can go to the cars, or you can see what our mission is, or you can join our blog or our newsletter, whatever. But the financing part, we started already, I think, 4 years ago by involving the crowd to finance us. So we gave out bonds in the Netherlands for 6% interest. And it's a bond of 4 years. And you have the car as collateral, and the cash flows from the rental
nice.
from the rental period, from the lease contract. So it's a pretty safe investment.
Yeah.
And you actually help us build our mission and have an impactful investment. So it's maybe more about the impact than about the return. That's what I've learned from talking to our investors. We have about 2,000 investors right now.
Yeah.
And we are trying to set this up for foreign investors as well. We're not there yet, but that's one of our ideas. And we are very happy to expand our investment offering. So at this moment, we only offer bonds, but maybe in the future, we're going to set up a robo investment fund where we're going to collect everybody, and then we're going to maybe buy robots together, and we're going to exploit them.
Exactly.
And then you're kind of our equity partner.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to have talks with a lot of people around the world about this idea. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So hopefully we're going to set it up pretty soon. And well, keep you informed, of course, when this happens.
Okay, very, very powerful. I'm so glad I had a chance to get to know you better, Florian, and get to know Mr. Green better. Everybody, please follow Florian on Twitter at Mr. Green EV. This is a story that has been around for a while, but this is the years when it's about to go, exponentially growth for you, and you're set up. You're well organized. It sounds great. I love the business. I think it's the future. I want to support it. I think we all need to support you. You have a role. You have a role to support Tesla as well. So, Florian, pleasure meeting you. Thank you for your time. I promise people that they get brighter every time they watch this, and I bring on people like you, and it's just you're brilliant. So thank you, and you're inspirational to me too. So thank you very much, Florian.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And if people have any questions, they can always tweet me, or we're very happy to share our deck and our vision. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to explain our idea.